so grateful to be here today. Being in Dubai, someplace I used to live, I don't live anymore, I live in the US, is always a great time to be back here because the relationships we'll get to build with people in this room. Today I'm excited to talk to you about something that I think is imperative for everyone sitting in this room, is understanding in the age of AI and the age of real-time communication and digital marketing and social media and how we live today, you can't afford to not be really good at communications. Today we're going to talk about how do you go from building your narrative to turn that into translating a network. So before we start, let me tell you a little bit about me. I have been doing communications and telling stories my entire life. I worked for 2 full-time jobs in my career, General Mills, doing their sports marketing, if anyone's heard of Cheerios or Betty Crocker or Pop Secret or any of those brands. And I also worked for Google. I was the head of communications and public policy here in Dubai for Google for many years. I launched Netflix in the Middle East. And now I spend my time helping people, high net worth individuals and CEOs and leaders in businesses understand how to build their personal brands. I'm so delighted that everyone here today will get a copy of my book. It's a best-selling book called The 7 Rules of Self-Reliance. And I really wanted to write a book, not just about communications, but about what are the rules that we need to operate today to truly rely on ourselves before we ask for help in others. It starts with you. It starts with the things you can do before extending your hand asking for help. By self-reliance, I mean, what can you do to invest in yourself first? What can you do to build your own relationships and network and not have to rely on someone else to help you build relationships? I feel that's a skill everyone in this room should know how to do on their own. How to build a relationship, how to nurture a relationship, how to grow your network. That's one of the rules of self-reliance. A second rule has to do with building your personal brand. Building your personal brand is not about self-promotion. I want you to think about it as idea promotion. Take out the word personal brand from your vocabulary and replace it with the word reputation. And don't you care about your reputation? Everyone's nodding yes. It's the most valuable currency you own. Your name is the only thing you own. Your reputation opens doors. Your reputation refers you to other people. Your reputation gets you that job, brings you more money, brings you more opportunity and more relationships. So some of the rules of the book, we won't go through all of them today, but you'll get a copy of the book so you can read them. And it talks a lot about creating value for other people. I want to rely on myself to bring value to others because when I do, then they want me in their circle and they want to work with me. Like I mentioned, I help people build their personal brands. What does your executive presence look like? Show of hands, how many people are active on LinkedIn daily? Okay, I'm going to come back here next year and I want everyone to raise their hand. LinkedIn is not a job platform. It's where business happens. It's where leaders lead. It's where you can build relationships, where you can find customers, and where you can actually build a brand. So one of the many things I help people do in building their personal brands, it could helping them with their LinkedIn or their executive presence. It could be helping them get on stages to speak, to share their ideas. Building your personal brand could help you get on podcasts or get in press or get you invited to the right room so you can do the business that you want to achieve. Building your personal brand is no longer an option to do. It is something that good leaders understand its importance. I help companies tell their stories through the press and through platforms consumers love, like podcasts. And I help coach people. How can you be a better communicator? How can you be a better public speaker? How can you, when you're in a Teams or a Zoom environment, how can you actually build a relationship with other people on those boxes? So we do a lot of training and coaching and workshops. But why I'm here today is to share with you my mission, which is to help people communicate better. We live in a world that is shaped by stories that are expressed through this term that many of you have seen called narratives. What's your narrative? How do you shape the narrative? How do you control the narrative? It's simply a story or a message that you want people to know about you. And when you're able to deliver your narrative or build a story with someone, it helps build a cohesive bond so that you have a good opportunity to create a relationship with someone sitting at your exact table. This is me at a conference last year or the year before in Abu Dhabi. And we talked a lot about how do we use these relationships to create business opportunities to build your reputation. Everyone in this room cares about building a reputation that opens better doors, brings them more opportunities, or brings them different relationships. And if you get good at this, it's not just about being good at storytelling or shaping your narrative. It really helps bring new opportunities to you. It's something that I call the trust economy. Welcome to what I'm calling the trust economy from now on. If people don't trust you, they won't do business with you. If people don't trust you, they won't recommend you. If people don't trust you, they won't invest in you. If people don't trust you, they won't refer you. If people don't trust you, they won't work for you. AI has caused us to think a lot about, do I trust that? Is that real? Is that AI? And a lot of people think if they have a lot of followers on social media that people must trust them and they have influence. That is not true. We need to be thinking about, instead of the attention economy, like where's everyone's attention going on social media, where we can focus on earning trust in the trust economy. And it's that shift that I want you to think about that shifting from all the noise and attention of either AI-generated content, or how do you really think about the credibility that must exist in order for us to build trust with someone. The number one way you will build trust and thrive in today's trust economy is by building your personal brand. And personal brands are not just grabbing the headlines because they're trendy. It's really what makes people stand out. When a CEO has bad behavior, it could affect the entire reputation of that organization. The same goes for leaders within an organization as well. It's not just for CEOs. 74% of a company's brand value is attributed to how the CEO's reputation is perceived. Did you know that 84% of consumers make decisions based on the reputation of the employees that work there? So many times people come to me and are like, Maha, I don't really want to be posting on social media and advocating for my company. Am I supposed to post about what I do for work or my personal thoughts or ideas? If your employer is upset that you are working on your personal brand and you're sharing your insights and your thoughts and your ideas, they don't get the point. If you're really good at telling stories or building your brand on social media, that means you know how to be a good storyteller, you know how to connect with audiences, you know how to listen to what consumers are talking about, you feel confident in your ideas to share your thought leadership. I feel everyone should be doing this. Not because everyone else is doing it, it's because it's your reputation. When people Google you, have you Googled yourself? What do you find? I want them to find information you have put there. That's why I would like you to all think about what's on your LinkedIn profile. What is the subcategories you have under your title? Do you have a clean photo? Have you updated your LinkedIn profile? Google yourself. Is there an old Facebook picture that you just don't want out there? Protecting your digital reputation is essential. And thinking about being intentional about it, because people are going to Google you or look you up on social before or after they meet you. So I want you to be in control and command of that narrative and the story that you're telling. 74% of consumers are more likely to trust someone with the personal brand. Is anyone in the room actively working on their personal brand or being intentional about it? Can you raise their hand? I'd really love to see. It's important. Good for you. Being intentional about what you share, and it's not just online. The most important thing you can do to build your personal brand is to think about real life, the relationships you're building, the people you're talking to, the networks you're having. That's really, really important. There's a massive shift today from logos to people. This is why building your personal brand matters. It used to be we trusted the logos. The logos were authority. The logos had the information. The logos were the ones that were sharing the things that we were consuming. There's been a huge shift. People follow people. They don't follow companies. Let me repeat that. People follow people. They don't follow companies. There's a shift. We want that authenticity. We want to know what it's like to work at that company. We want to know what were the struggles you went to build that project. We want to know what is going on behind the scenes. We want to know how did you build that, or how are you motivating your team or leading your employees. People care very much about understanding the authentic true self. They don't want to be seeing things behind a polished opportunity or a PR person that made it look good. I come to think about it as 6 cultural shifts that have transformed and informed this shift from logos to people. The first one is trust moved from institutions to individuals. It used to be if you wanted to get something on the news or get out something to the public to broadcast, you needed a BBC, a CNN, you had to go through an institution. Now we can do it direct to consumer. You can go live instantly to the world and share your thoughts, your ideas, broadcast anything you want. The second thing, social media has democratized everything. The access to information is equal. There's no power dynamic. Everybody has access and it's free. Do you realize we've never lived in a greater time to be alive? The internet is free. YouTube videos are for free. Podcasts are for free. We have no excuse not to learn anything. It used to be that where you went to school determined who you were going to become. That's not true anymore. You have access to information now. All you have to do is put in the time and effort. Nobody has better access to information than we all do in this room here today. People equals emotions. Logos are about information, right? So I think we like to connect with a story. What makes you stop when you're scrolling on the internet, or makes you share a story or forward a funny meme that you see on your social media? It's an emotion that touched you, something that was funny or made you laugh or moved you or surprised you. That's the effort we all want to see, is a story that moves us to take some sort of action, to inspire a team, to inspire a leader, to make a movement happen. That's what people can bring to storytelling, and why there's been a shift from logos to people. The creator economy has changed the dynamics of power. I don't know, you guys have probably all seen this story that came out that said when people graduate from college today, they just want to be YouTubers. Have you guys seen that? You can make so much money by being a creator. The creator economy is at $530 billion and is going to continue to go up. Elon Musk said this week that people are no longer going to have jobs in the future. Everyone's just going to work for themselves. Well, you know what? Then you're going to have a good reputation, be good at storytelling, have a strong personal brand, and have relationships and a network you can rely on. Behind the curtain builds transparency. We love seeing what happens behind the scenes at a company, at a factory, at a sports event. That's why people love those sports documentaries so much. The Formula One or any of those that have been on Netflix, because we get to see what the athletes go through in their training and the behind the scenes, what happens on the bus and when they're traveling. That access builds credibility and transparency and connects us to them. And last but not least, people aspire to people. People don't aspire to companies. People don't aspire to logos. That's why the likes of Mel Robbins and The Diary of a CEO and all these podcasts are big, because we want to hear from experts. We want to be like them. We want their success. We want their ideas. We want to know how to beat longevity, how to really understand what's happening in the market. The difference between a good leader and a great one comes down to how well they tell their story. And when you meet someone today, I really want you to think about networking with as many people as you can in this room. Open your LinkedIn profile and open that QR code and really make a conscious effort to connect with everyone in this room. The power of the relationships in this room is unmatched. What's your story when you introduce yourself to someone? It's not probably going to be your name or your title. It's where are you from? What do you do? What excites you? Why are you excited to be here? What's the thing that brought you here today? What did you learn that I can learn about? Who are you engaged with that I can learn from? Really make an effort to tell a story when you're meeting someone today, and make an effort to build that relationship, based on the story. Storytelling isn't a communications tool. It's a leadership superpower. And I really want everyone to think about, what am I doing to be a better storyteller? Because being a storyteller today is quite complicated. It's not easy, right? There are so many things that you have to do. You have to understand real-time communications. You have to be authentic. You need to know what's happening on your digital reputation. When you Google yourself, what comes up? You need to be culturally relevant. People want to follow people who are really in touch with what's happening in the market. One of my favorite people to follow on the internet is a curator of content. She pulls things from different areas and shares them. And I like that because she has a different perspective and point of view than me. And I like to see what she's posting from arts and culture and sports and entertainment and science and food. That's valuable to me because I want to get different perspectives, because being a good communicator or storyteller, you need to know what's happening in culture. That's what gives you the competitive advantage. Understanding platforms, either it's social media or even in person, what's the best way to build a relationship and tell a story? Cancel culture is real. The worst time to have a crisis communications plan is when you're in one. And we know how it works. If you make a mistake or a misstep, the internet and the public is not that forgiving. Navigating in person through networking effectively. Honestly, the term networking gives people the heebie-jeebies. It's daunting. It's not about collecting business cards. In a big room like this, try to seek out a few people to connect with and build a meaningful relationship. You're not going to get a chance to meet everybody in the room. So make an effort to create a couple of relationships that are meaningful. Storytelling matters because it's what connects us. They make communications more engaging. And we think a lot about how we kind of grew up on campfires telling stories. It's a universal skill that we've had back in the early ages of sitting around a campfire telling a story, connecting with each other, and building a relationship through a connected experience. Especially when we think about the digital first world that we live in, how we tell stories determines how we can connect and lead with our team members, or in our industry, or in our thought leadership, or with our colleagues. And I think if we get really good at storytelling, we're going to be able to do many good things, including building your business, your future, thinking about relationships, but most of all, your reputation. I love this stat because when I think about telling a story, if I told you a story of where I came from and where I was born, you would remember that story much more than if I told you my name and my title. I am 100% Egyptian. I am born and raised in a very small town called Mankato, Minnesota, home of Little House on the Prairie and Laura Ingalls Wilder. If you guys have heard of that show, it's very, very old. And I grew up in Minnesota with my Egyptian parents. Inside the four walls of my house, it was Egypt. Open the door, you're in the United States of America. I gave my parents every gray hair they ever had. And I tested everything that I wanted to do that was American, that was against Egyptian culture, but my parents went along with it. When I was 14, my mother got MS, multiple sclerosis. And several years later, my father got ALS. I lost both my parents a year apart. And I'm telling you this story so that you can connect a little bit about me with me from where I grew up and how I started my career. I was a responsible 14-year-old taking care of my mother. I was essentially the parent while she was sick. For 22 years, she had MS, and then my dad got ALS. I ended up moving back to Egypt in 1997 to take care of my mother because my parents decided they were going to leave the US after nearly 40 years and move back to Egypt. And I've been in the region for about 26 years, and I left during the pandemic. But being part of both worlds helped me understand the importance of my story, of my identity, of telling my story so people could connect with me. And understanding when I was growing up that I really felt different and odd, and everyone was blonde-haired and blue-eyed, and I was brown hair, and I had a very long last name. But then when I came to the region, it was my point of difference. I was very proud to be Egyptian. I fit in with the culture here, and I really was able to make my identity not just a weakness for me, but a strength. When you tell a story, it'll be 22 times more memorable than if I just told you I'm a best-selling author who used to work at Google. Now you will remember my story. 92% of executives say that storytelling is critical to internal communications. I think so many people in business overlook the power of talking to your teams. They're very good at external communications or making sure that people know from the public what you're doing, but never underestimate the value of talking to your teams, letting them be informed, letting them be motivated, letting them feel valued by sharing your story of what you're trying to achieve. That empowers them and could be really strong advocates for you. Top performing companies are 3 times more likely to train leaders in storytelling. How many of you, through the organizations you've worked for, has had someone come into your group and talk to you about communications or storytelling? Okay, we really think that this, first of all, great job for your companies, but imagine if you were good at storytelling, felt confident enough to train other people, and to not just stand in front of groups, but lead a meeting, lead a team, lead an effort, lead a sales event, lead your customers. It's super, super critical and important. Everything meaningful builds a connection when you understand the power of taking your story and sharing it with your network. People don't network with job titles. They network with people. How can you share that part of you to build your story? I wrote here on the bottom here, the best networkers aren't actually great storytellers. They know how to make people feel something. Storytelling is how you make people feel. I thought about today as like visualizing before I came on stage, what did I want you to feel? I wanted you to feel something of value. I wanted you to get value out of the purpose of this session today. How can you start telling better stories? How can you build a narrative that allows you to create a meaningful relationship and a network? Every time you share your ideas, you build more trust. You're able to be clear with people. You're building authenticity. You're sharing an emotion. You're building that consistency because your reputation will compound the more you do it. And you will amplify because then your network will start telling your story, introducing you, connecting you to others. Like I said, networking is not just an online game. This is an online and an offline opportunity for you. And we want to start with this room because you can attract those opportunities to deepen that loyalty and do networking through storytelling at scale. My final thought with you today, and I'm happy to take any questions. I don't know if you have a microphone, but stories are what create trust. And trust will build those relationships. And relationships will help you build everything else. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate you.